Okay, cool. The recording, I also want to preface this by saying that anatomy is not my strong suit. So we're going to be segmenting a heart today. I know a little bit about how the heart works because I'm taking like some, you know, BS medical terminology class. But ultimately I am like a super like novice when it comes to anything anatomy. So if I call something the wrong name, I'm so sorry. But yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm gonna share my screen. And okay, so if any of you have downloaded Slicer, also y'all can see this, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So if you guys have downloaded Slicer, this is kind of just what you're gonna see on this main page. And the first thing is kind of just like actually loading DICOM data in, right? So in this file, there's a bunch of sample data that actually comes with Slicer. So like you don't even have to do anything else. You just click download sample, and there's one for the heart that's like ready to go. It says CTA cardio. But in practice, whenever you get a like for DICOM kidney, we get a flash drive that has a bunch of what are essentially just image files. They're just DICOMs, and they're all stored in like this big messy folder. And for that, you would just I'll see here are those. So if you were to get like a folder of DICOMs, you would really just load it in through using this little purple button here, and then click examine, click load, and then double click on the sample you want to use. But for this workshop, because we're trying to get things along and keep things going, we're going to work with this CTA cardio. So it looks pretty nice. So these 4 squares are going to be like your bread and butter throughout the segmenting process. So you have this top left one, which is your top down view. You have this bottom left one, which is the front to back view. And you have this bottom right one, which is the side to side view. And then the 3D pane. So basically how these work is these are all just singular images slapped together in a row, like a flip book that like those like old timey like flip, or not old timey, but like you like draw on a flip book, like those animations, and you flip through it and it like moves. So that's really just all that these are. They're just images that go all the way down through each like layer or slice of the heart. So if I double click CTA cardio, and it will load those in.
AirPods don't connect to my computer all semester. I don't know why.
Hey, what's up, Caroline? I think you're unmuted. Okay, cool. So double clicking CTA cardio, now it is loaded in. And first things first, if also like is anyone going to be or I guess if anyone is going to be
It's a meeting for
thank you. All right. So if anyone is going to be segmenting along, I just want to say some simple controls. So using the scroll on your mouse is going to zoom, or not zoom. It's going to scroll through the DICOM samples. Control zoom is going to actually zoom in and out. And then clicking the middle button and moving that around will actually move that. So from here, right now, we can keep zooming in and out, and like that's fine. But right now, there's a lot of other noise besides the heart that we don't really need, right? We want a nice old STL with just the heart, and like it might be a little annoying to have to keep zooming in and out like that. So there's this neat little tool. If we go into modules over here, and it's titled crop volume. And really all this does is it just limits what space you're working with. And like I found that this is like really helpful because honestly, the hardest part of Slicer is figuring out what the heck you are looking at, right? Especially because we're engineers. I feel like a lot of us, I mean, I don't know, maybe BME is a little different, but at least for me as an electrical engineer, you know, biological systems are not something that I'm entirely familiar with. So, you know, if I can isolate what I'm actually supposed to be looking at, then I think it'll help me out a lot more later down the road so I don't get confused. So really all I'm doing is just, you know, just limiting what I'm seeing just to make it easier. So once that's where I want it, I'm going to click display, or I'm going to click off display ROI. Otherwise, this annoying little white box is going to show up in our 3D area. And I'm going to click apply. Okay, now we got this like zoomed in of the heart. That's beautiful. And we want to actually segment it. So I guess this is maybe something I should have done first, but to give you guys a bit of a view of what this is going to look like afterwards. This is just one that I did last night. It was a little quick and dirty, and I segmented it admittedly a little lazily, but really we just have the this would be the right heart over here and then the left heart, and then I grouped everything else together. I grouped like the aorta, pulmonary arteries and veins, like superior vena cava, like all that stuff is up there, right? So we want to get it like that. And there's like a nice process that I've used to do that. And that process is just to have it on a little notepad. So we're going to do import. We did that. We're going to do crop volume. We did that, right? So that's just setup. Then we're going to use a tool called grow from seeds. And that'll be our next step. And then we're going to do a little bit of smoothing, get it looking a little nicer. And then we're going to do some manual editing. Then we're going to smooth it again. And then we're going to export it. So this is the process that I use anytime I try any slicing at all. Like this is just, you know, I'm like, all right, first things first, like I got my little like checklist ready to go, right? So how do we actually start using tools like grow from seeds and smoothing? And, you know, what do I mean by manual? Like, what do any of these mean, right? So if we go to segment editor, right, on this little drop-down menu for modules, this is where all of the magic is going to happen. This is like, you know how these screens were your bread and butter? Well, like, this is like your, I don't know, like your toaster or something, you know, like you need it. That was a really terrible like analogy or comparison, but like y'all understand what I'm trying to say. So these segmentations are going to be labeled separately. So if you can see in here, you see how these are all separated? Like, ooh, whoa, that's kind of sick. Okay. You see how these are like there are these little lines that divide each part of the heart. Well, that's only because I segmented each of these pieces separately. I say each, but I just segmented the right heart, the left heart, and all of the everything else as 3 separate entities. And so to set that up, we're just going to make 3 different segment types. Well, 4, but I'll get to why later. So we'll do right heart. We'll add another. We'll call that left heart. And then we'll add one more. And we'll call that, I don't know, everything else, right? You know what, actually? I think I'm going to add one more. We're going to call it aorta, right? And we can move this up, right? And I say that only because in this model, I mean, for anyone who's familiar a little bit with the heart, you know, the aorta is a pretty big, you know, it's pretty, I mean, everything's important, but that one's, I think, especially distinct. So I think it'll be cool if we can try to segment that separately as well. And especially if there's anyone from the cardiology team, I'm not sure if there is, maybe, I don't know. If there is anyone from the cardiology team here, you will need to segment the aorta separately because it's a
right here. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. What's up? Nice. Heck yeah. The LVAD implant goes from the left ventricle to the aorta. So those will probably be like the most important parts to have segmented cleanly, I guess. Okay, so now we have our right heart, our left heart, our aorta, our everything else. This might be a little leading. I'm going to just call this veins and arteries. So that'll just have like your pulmonary arteries and veins, your superior vena cava, maybe inferior, but we'll see if we even want that. Okay, and then to make things extra confusing, I'm going to have one more segment and I'm going to call it other. And the reason for that is that this grow from seeds tool, what it does is it's this beautiful little thing where you go through and you drop little like seeds throughout the pieces that you want for each of these parts. And you are essentially labeling what is and isn't part of that group. And then Grow from Seeds sees that, and then it automatically finds other parts that you haven't labeled that actually do belong with that. And obviously it is not a perfect system. So there's a little bit of work that comes after it as well, but ultimately it's a very nice way to get started. So to get into it, I'm going to first figure out the direction of everything, right? So right here, we got the spine. And as we come up here, we can see, wait for it, ribs, right? All the ribs down here. So this is the front. This is the starting to go backwards. So if we're starting with the right heart, and I guess for anyone who isn't familiar with it, it would be the patient's right side. So even though we're looking at the left side, because we're looking front to back, their right is our left. So the right heart would be this little area over here, right? So we're literally just gonna go in and just drop some seeds, right? So what that means is we're gonna use this paint tool over here, and we're just gonna draw where we think each part is, right? And again, the biggest part of this is figuring out what is actually the part that you're looking for and what's not. So right here, I can deduce that this is probably around the start of the right heart down here, where these would be the pulmonary veins. I can scroll a few slices, and I don't have to be specific about where everything is. The beautiful part about this Grow from Seeds tool is that it's going to do a lot of this like heavy lifting for me. So it's okay if I make a few mistakes, and I can fix those later and will likely need to. But if it's not perfect, that's perfectly okay, So really the point is to get the general shape of where each component is. And if you end up, segmenting something wrong, or if you miss a bunch of parts, there will be more than enough opportunity to fix that down the road. So, I'm being pretty inaccurate here. I'm just going around dropping like just random lines wherever, maybe I'll add another one there. And so for the right heart, I'm going to say, okay, you know what? That's good. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to say, all right, that's our right heart. We have our seeds for that. Let's move on, right? Let's go into the left heart. So again, I'm going to start from around where I think the left heart starts. So for this one, I might actually go to the front. Whoa. Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm going to say, you know what? It looks like this looks like some left heart material, right? We'll segment that a little bit. And again, this is something that like, especially going into it firsthand, like you're probably going to have to look around at this a little bit and like experiment with what's what. Because like I'm sure right now many of you are just looking at this and you're going, dude, what on earth? Like it's a bunch of gray, you know, like how, like where are you getting all of this from? I think especially if there's anyone, or I'd imagine not all of you have like I don't know, anatomy experience. So I'd imagine that you know, it might be a little how do I say? I guess like jarring just to
Tricky?
see.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So it might just be like a little difficult to see like what is what, but really Slicer is fairly forgiving. So you know, something I want to stress is that if you do, I guess like mess up or you know, if you're having difficulty figuring out what is part of what, and like you know, that's something that I'm not great at either, you know, and you know, you'll probably see that along the way that I'll be like, oh shoot, this was not actually part of this system, or I missegmented that, and then you know, we'll fix it. So this part really, like I think this part should be pretty quick. You don't want to spend too much time on it. You're kind of just getting the idea, right? So I'm going to go to the aorta. And this one, I am actually going to segment up here in this top-down view. So I don't love segmenting in different views. I think it's typically a lot easier to just segment everything in one view. But because the aorta can so cleanly be seen here, you know, I'm going to do it here. So we're going to start at the top. We have this segment here. That's the aorta. So, you know, like these dots, that's aorta, right? So going down, you can see how it's kind of stretching across, it's expanding. And as we move down, as we go through these images, you can see that it starts separating into two different pieces. Really, it's the same piece. But it's just parts that are now going down into different areas, right? So we're going to segment that, and these are all the aorta, right? And then it's starting to get a little mushed in there, but okay. And I'm gonna leave that as that for the inside, and I'm just gonna keep. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going just a little bit further down on the outside, just to get some of that neat old heart action, right? Okay, cool. That's aorta. I'm gonna say boom, that's done, right? And then I'm gonna go back to this view because I think it's easier for the things like the other veins and arteries. So we have also, by the way, I'll just throw this up here. This is honestly just like really simple diagram, just showing, you know, what everything is. You know, it's not necessarily something that, you know, I expect anyone to memorize, and it's not something that I have memorized, but you know, just in general, I think it's really good to typically just have like a diagram of the anatomy of whatever you're segmenting. That way you can identify what it is that you need and, you know, kind of go off that. So when I say the aorta, that's like this little loop around here. When I say, you know, superior vena cava and the pulmonary veins and arteries, it's, you know, just all these other, well, veins and arteries that are going to be going into it. So, okay, so we're going to start off, where's a good starting point? I think I'm going to start like here, you know? So from here, I'm guessing, right, that this right here is, as it branches out, are the pulmonary veins. And so I'm going to take that guess, and I'm going to say, okay, let's just do it, you know? And so I'm just going to put a little veins and arteries thing there, you know, just, hey, look at you, you know? We'll go in here and we'll say, okay, look at you, Mr. Something. I don't know. That might be the pulmonary artery. I'm not sure. And then I think this is the superior vena cava. This, I think, is that branch of pulmonary veins, same as this. And then just going further into it. Oh, I think I went back actually, but that's fine. Okay, so we can see if this is indeed the superior vena cava, then we're going to want some of that. And we will want a little bit of this as well, a little bit of this. Sure. Well, I'm not sure if that's part of it, honestly, but we'll take it, you know. And then again, we can adjust later. This part is all about just grabbing what you can, and then you'll figure out if you need it a little later on. So we'll grab that too. I mean, we're just grabbing everything, you know. Okay, and it's looking like that, and maybe that are kind of most of what's left there, right? And maybe I'll draw a little on here, as it moves inward there, right? Sweet. Okay, so those are our 4 parts, and now we're just going to go through and we're going to label a bunch of other parts. So pretty much everything that we don't want to be part of our main heart. I'm just going to I'm going to change the color of this just because it's very similar to the color of the veins and arteries. What colors haven't we used? Is there like a purple? Maybe. I don't know. Oh, heck yeah. Sweet. Yeah, purple works. Purple works. Okay. So now I'm literally just gonna start from here where the heart doesn't even exist. It's just ribs, and I'm gonna say all of that's not heart, right? The heart is starting to come into view now, and I'm gonna say all of that around there, none of that is the heart. We don't want any of that. Just gonna mark it up. And again, Slicer is really smart and really forgiving. There's a lot of this that doesn't need to be perfect. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm being very sloppy with kind of how I'm going about this. And part of that is because we're a little tight on time. If you do have the time, I would say, hey, why not take the extra? I might not do that. It's a little. Why not take the extra time to make it a little cleaner? It'll save you time in the future when you need to manually do things. But for our first pass, I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just draw. Like we're young. Okay. Boom. All right, and we're just gonna move forward, do a few more of these. And okay, this bottom part, because I'm skipping it a lot, it might have some difficulty there, but ultimately, it should get the idea that everything outside of these boundaries is no good. Okay, I'm not even going to touch that stuff up there. And then we'll do a little bit of, sure, we'll do one more here and then we'll do the ending. So we'll go all the way through there. Nice. Sure, I don't think that's hard. Why not? And then we're going to strike through the spine, right? Because we don't want that. Okay, so in our top branch, you can see you can see kind of what the what Slicer's thinking in terms of all of this now, right? You can kind of see where these parts are taking form and what it's counting as part of the heart and what it's not. Like for instance, this line right there, that I can already tell might end up being a little problematic. So I'm actually going to I might just erase this one, like better do that now than to have it mess up with the grow from seeds. So now that we have that, we have a bunch of our little guys, and we're going to click this grow from seeds button, and we're going to initialize it, and it's going to take a toll on your computer like crazy. So that's another thing about 3D Slicer. It's going to throw a lot of scary, not responding. It's going to load for a little while, and you're going to be like, oh my ham, like everything's lost. I'm done for. And like, it's fine. Like it figures things out. Actually, that was pretty quick. Thank you for proving me wrong, Slicer. But yeah, okay. So now we're looking at everything, but it's colored everything. So is that good? Is that bad? Like what? Like great, you colored a bunch of stuff for me, Slicer. Like I appreciate it, but like, is this even what I want? And here's the deal, right? So once you do your grow from seeds and you have these little like automatically segmented things from grow from seeds, if you click the supply filter, now it'll solidify all those changes, and you can either undo grow from seeds entirely, or you can just keep going and work with what you got. So the best way is to edit these before you accept all of your changes on grow from seeds. The issue is we don't actually know if this is good or not. It's really hard to tell if this is what we're looking for. So clicking this segmentations button, and we are going to view this in 3D so that we can actually see what we got. So just clicking that segmentation button and then going to close surface and clicking create. Whoa, that is not what I expected to happen. Hold on. Good. Hey, man. What are you doing? There we go. Okay, maybe. Yeah. Uh-oh. Okay, so how about this then? We are going to, give me 2 seconds. There it is. Okay, so we needed to go to segmentation preview, and then if we click close surface, then we have that. Okay, so, and now I need to get rid of that other stuff. Oh boy. All right, let's see. Segmentation. How do I get rid of, I just like turn you all off. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're just gonna turn off 3D and we're gonna pretend that doesn't exist. Okay. It's segmentation preview that you want, and then create the closed surface. Okay, my bad on that. So now that we have this, we're like, okay, like that's kind of cool. It's a mess, but it's kind of cool, right? You can clearly see the blue is our aorta, the red are the rest of our, pulmonary veins and arteries, and, vena cava and cave. I'm realizing I don't know what the plural of that is. But regardless, it looks okay, like obviously this is not how we want to finish this. But like for a rough start, honestly, it ain't too bad. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to say, okay, you have one of 2 options. You can either choose to continue editing these before you finalize your grow from seeds changes, right? And if you do that, then you're going to be thrust into the next part of this list, where you go into smoothing and then manual editing. And for manual editing, this is the longest step, right? Like this is what you want to minimize because, like it's a pain, we'll get there, but you know, I couldn't finish a complete heart segmentation with manual editing in an hour, you know, and it is likely that in this hour I'll have maybe a few of the parts completed, but the manual editing will be the probably last step that we end up on. So I would say if there are, you know, parts that you're not liking, try your best to fix them now. So a nice little feature is in this 3D model, I can see, ooh, okay, there's a little bit of this yellow on the aorta. I don't like that, right? So that would be the left heart that's kind of seeping into the aorta. So I can shift and hover over that part, and it'll update the 3 views with where that is. So if I click on, like if I click, let's just say I click right, or not click, but I press shift while I'm hovering over this spot here, it'll bring me there. It's really nice to kind of just have this 3D model and then just kind of shift all over everything. And as you can see, the this part of the left heart here is totally starting to bleed into that aorta, and it's you know, making it a little difficult to see. And over here as well, this is not left heart. That's actually nothing, you know, but it's being attached onto the aorta. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of other, right? We're just going to paint some, also for anyone, if anyone is following or is going to be doing this in the future, adjusting your brush size is really useful. It's just shift and then you scroll while having the a brush selected. Cool. And then it'll just adjust the size. So yeah, so just going in here, I'm like, all right, all of this junk, that's other. I don't even like that. I don't even want that. Get that out of here, you know? And when that happens, because Grow from Seeds has been initialized but not fully updated, it will automatically update any changes that you make as you start painting to fix your Grow from Seeds. So you're using the paint tool, but it's not quite manual yet. It's still using this Grow from Seeds tool. And part of me thinks I messed up because it shouldn't be taking this long to do one view or one line of paint, but okay, actually that was pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so there's a little more yellow stuff down here that we want to clean up. I didn't quite get after all that, and I think a good place to hit it would be here. That works. All of this, we don't want that. That is all junk. So yeah, so I'm gonna just paint it with other, let it load, and hopefully we should see around this part of the screen, these little yellow, all that noise down there. Hopefully that should go away. Fingers crossed. Yeah, boom, just like that. All well, not all of it, but most of it is gone, right? So the aorta is cleaned up a little bit. Maybe I'll do one more cleaning up the aorta where I just take these few pixels and I say, hey, you guys are not invited. Get out, you know, like get out of here. All right. So, and hopefully you'll see that blue stalk of the aorta starts to get a little cleaned up as well. And maybe, yeah, all right, it cleaned it up a little bit. It's still a little messy, which will be fixed, but yeah, okay. There's also, okay, another thing I see is the right heart latched onto this inferior vena cava, right? That's this little blue thing on this picture. We don't want that. That's whacked out, you know, and if we do want it, then we want it part of veins and arteries, not right heart, right? But for simplicity, I'm actually going to say that, you know what, let's just get rid of it. You know, like let's say our what's it called, our application or whatever we're doing this for, you know, we don't really care about the inferior vena cava. You know, it would be cool to have, but you know, for the sake of simplicity, let's just try to get rid of it entirely, right? So let's figure out where is that. So let's shift over it, and we can see it's this over here, right? And you can see in the 3D view as I hover over it that it's that it you know, there's that little disc that's going through it, right? So I'm actually going to tackle this in this view, and you can see, oh, there it is. That's, yep, there it is. It's right there. All of that little protrusion is the inferior vena cava. So we're going to go back down to other, and we're gonna paint it purple, right? We're gonna say, hey, man, you are not part of the gang. Get out, you know. Like, all right, boom, and hopefully Slicer will take the hint and get rid of the entire thing. And let's see. I guess now's a good time. Does anyone have questions? I know this is a lot, so I would imagine that maybe there's a little bit of confusion. If anyone has any questions, now would definitely be the time to ask.
I don't necessarily have a question, but I love how you're like, ah, this is not that clean. And this is my first time doing it, and I'm like, oh my God, like it did not pick up what I was looking for. I kind of have a sketch out, but
Okay.
yeah, but look,
Nice.
yeah, it's happening, it's happening.
Heck
You're a
yeah. I mean,
great teacher though. I'm able to follow along with what
yeah,
you're saying.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. I appreciate it. Honestly, I think that's something I was worried about because I don't know, especially over Zoom. I think it's hard to get that. But all right, that's good to hear. And again, I mean, a lot of that, like, I also just did this last night. So there's a lot of like painstaking, like, where is this and what is that I did last night that I'm, you know, now able to go through. So you know, it's definitely a process, but okay, you know what? I'm gonna say let's move on. We got this. It's messy, you know, but I'm happy with it for now, at least for the grow from seed step. I think we can move on. We can start cleaning things up a little bit. So I click that apply button in grow from seeds, and now we saw our whole thingy thing go away. But if we click show 3D, maybe. Oh, yep. Yeah, okay. So it's going to load that 3D view now. Oh, I lied. It's not going to load that 3D view because I went in segmentations and I clicked 3D off. Okay, now it is. There we go. Okay, so now we can go back to segment editor. Okay. And something to note, if you click show 3D and you see something like this, that is only because you have this other box visible. So if that's something you're seeing, you're gonna want to make that you're gonna want to turn the visibility off on that, and then you can start to see your the meat of your segments, right? Okay, so there's a lot going on. I'm going to do a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna add one step. Let's say, or scissors, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we're just going to smooth each and every one of these parts individually and hope that it kind of starts to look a little cleaner. It's not going to look clean, but it'll look just a bit nicer. I found that a Gaussian smoothing is like, chef's kiss. That it is beautiful. You know, so for this step, we don't want to over smooth because that'll take a lot of the detail out. So I'm going to try it with 3 millimeters. I'm going to go on the right heart and just click apply. And hopefully we'll see that the right heart will get a little smoother, a little less like nasty, right? Okay. All right. And there we go. I mean, it still looks really rough around the edges because, you know, it was a rough sketch of what our end goal was going to be. But I think to go into the next steps, I'm okay with it. So we'll do left heart, go into smoothing, 3 millimeters, apply, and we're just going to do this for all of them. I will say I'll probably lower the standard deviation for the aorta and the veins and arteries. They definitely don't need as much smoothing, because then you're going to get rid of like all of the detail, because they're pretty skinny. So we'll try 2 for the aorta. And hopefully that gives us something that we can still work with. Okay. You know what? I'll take it. I like it. It's a little weird, but I like it, like we'll get rid of all that stuff up there. If this stuff up here is something you need, then obviously, like undo the filter or the smoothing filter, and find a setting or a filter that works. But just for this, we don't really need all that stuff up there. And for the veins and arteries, I'm gonna go really low on this. I'm gonna say we'll do like 1 millimeter. I might even change it from a Gaussian to a median, which is just less intense. I can't claim to really know too much of the math behind these smoothing filters, but okay. I think it's ugly, but it's okay. It's okay. There's, now that we've done this like the first kind of smoothing step, there's a lot of little protrusions like this up here. That is awkward. Like, what the heck is that? Hence the scissors. The scissors are a very unique tool because they're one of, at least the ones that I've used, they're one of the only tools that are used in the 3D portion of this. So you can literally just go in and drag and go through that 3D plane. And then once you have, what you want to delete kind of encompass, you just let it go. It'll, hey, oh, that's because I had to have it selected. Now that I've selected aorta and I can cut, now it will, there we go, right? Cool. Cool. Okay, that is another thing to note though. Oh, I just realized there were things in the chat. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, cardiothoracic. Woohoo. All right. Okay, so let's just cut out a few other things that I think are making this look like particularly noisy. I'm gonna cut out a little bit more from this aorta. I feel like there's just so much here, and really we only care about this main branch, right? So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna, maybe I'll angle it a little like that. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna get rid of like all of those guys. They're little, it's little spiky hair, right? So now we have that, and I'll keep him buzzed. He can keep whatever he's got going on there. And now there's all this stuff over here. This stuff is like mad ugly. It's the superior vena cava, and because we didn't smooth the veins and arteries super well, it still looks pretty rough around the edges. So I'm gonna go ahead and say we don't need most of this. So I'm just gonna go a little crazy. And again, like this is something that like every step is gonna really depend on how much you need and how much you don't need. Like if you're trying to make like a super simple heart model, like you don't need most. Oh, whoa. Okay, that was a little, all right. You don't need most of this stuff, but again, if you want this to be super detailed, like I know for cardiology, there are parts of this that you may not need to be super detailed, but things like the aorta and the left heart, those are going to need to be pretty like detailed, so I don't know. I'm doing this for simplicity, but really it's up to you what you cut and what you don't. There's all this weirdness up here. I don't even know what's going on there. Honestly, I think that's something I should have fixed during Grow from Seeds, but I didn't. So I'm gonna fix it with scissors now. So with veins and arteries selected, I'm literally just gonna say, hey, all of you get the heck out of here, right? Boom. All right. And what's left is now this floating piece of the aorta. We don't like floating pieces, no matter what application or what you're doing. I would say try to never have floating pieces. Those are bad news pretty much always. So yeah. Okay, so we got our little thing. He's an ugly little heart, but you know what? He's got character. We're gonna give him a makeover though. And this is probably the part that I'm not going to be able to finish. So we've done everything up here, right? And now we have this manual editing. And this is the part that is a little painful, if I'm gonna be completely honest. I'd say if you need something to be super detailed, just set aside like a few hours and just like put on some music and just, go a little crazy. Because maybe there are more efficient ways, but I've found after doing the DICOM kidney project, I have found time and time again that if you want something really detailed, you're going to have to go frame by frame and make sure it is what you want it to be. So, for example, I like to use this bottom left screen. I think it's probably my favorite screen, right? And it like the Grow from Seeds did a pretty good job. But there's like a few weird places, like all of this down here, how it's like concave and like, how it's like really disconnected here. And just it looks clumpy and strange and there's like weird protrusions everywhere. So I would say manual editing from here is probably the best way to go. But I'm also going to warn that no matter what you're doing when you're manually editing something in Slicer, you are going to be convinced that you are destroying whatever it is that you've made so far. You're going to look at what you're doing and every edit you make is going to be like, oh my gosh, this looks worse than when I started. I should have just left it. Like, trust yourself, trust the process. If you keep going, it will turn out, good. So I am going to, because we got cardiology here today, and the left heart and aorta are their main points for the LVAD, I might just focus on those, right? So we have all of this left heart coming all the way down here. And we're just going to want to individually edit pretty much every part of that, right? And just make sure that it is what we want it to be, right? So these things can get in the way sometimes. So, I'd say if you want, you can kind of just remove some of the less useful parts, especially momentarily. I think it can be a little helpful sometimes, just to actually end up seeing the gray. So anyway, let's stop messing around, and let's just kind of take this one frame at a time. So I'm going to start at the end. We're going to start here, right, where there is no left heart. It doesn't exist, right? And then we're going to say, okay, we're going to look at all that. And we're going to say, is that actually left heart? I don't know. I mean, it looks like that is still part of the aorta. That looks like some sort of branch. I mean, I don't know what that stuff is. So I'm going to say, all right, I've deduced that that is not actually part of the left heart. We're going to erase that and remove it from existence entirely, right? It's, ooh, I left the part there. Maybe this is part of the heart forming. That's another thing where checking your 3D model, checking where these slices are is pretty helpful. I can see, okay, that looks like it's actually maybe part of the heart forming, right? Let's get a sideways look at it. Yeah, I could see that being the left heart, right? So it's starting to shape up. I don't think this is part of it though. So we are going to delete that. And we're just going to keep going through and just deleting everything that just doesn't quite fit, right? Let's take a look up here. Now we're getting that. And you know what? I don't like you either. Yep, you're going. Okay. You too. Okay, and this is, again, this is the part where, like, straight up, like, it's tedious, you know? You're going frame by frame, and you're taking out every little piece that isn't what you want. And not only taking pieces out, but as you can see, there's little holes everywhere, right? So I can paint that in, you know? I can give that a little love, give it a little paint, right? And then kind of just keep progressing through. Maybe there's a little there, right? And as you can see, it's updating in the 3D model in real time and kind of filling in some of those like dimples, right? Yep. Just making it look more natural. Okay. Yep. And maybe a few more. Okay. So, okay. And yeah, like I said, like this part isn't super interesting. So like, I don't know. I feel like I don't have a whole lot to I don't know, talk to you guys about. I'm just like doing it, you know? But really, like from here on out, you're just going to be doing this for every single part that you need detailed. Yeah, so a big thing, I guess the biggest thing about this part that I'd like to, the biggest part that I'd like to address with at least the manual part is borders are your most important aspect of this. I'm realizing I'm running out of time, so I might not be able to go through slice by slice with everything, but figuring out what's actually part of your segment and what's not, that is tough, but especially in this manual segment, getting those borders right and making this shape look natural can be fairly difficult, you know? So let me see if I can find a good example. Okay, yeah, here's a pretty decent example. Okay, you guys see this little dip right here? There's like this little, it's like, you know, it's just this little dip where like, it's like a little triangle where there's nothing, you know? Like it's not right heart, it's not left heart, like it's just this little, oh, and then it starts to be right heart right around there, you know? That is always actually right heart, but you know, it just hasn't quite picked up on that. So, whoops. Kind of just going through and saying, hey, that is a border. That is something that we need to have looking clean. Uh-oh. I might have overstepped the green over there. Whatever, that's fine. So kind of just filling in pieces like this is going to be really the whole manual part of it. And again, if honestly, like if you're doing something that doesn't need a lot of precision, you could have just gone heavier on that last smoothing step and called it a day, you know? Like it really depends on what your application is. But if you need this to be a little more precise, then, you know, things like this help. And another thing that I've found, once that updates, yeah, is that cross-checking where you're at on other parts of the screen are really cool too. So you can see these yellow bars that are popping up as I'm moving through this bottom right-hand screen. And that kind of just helps you double check that like where you're going is where you think you are, you know? So when I'm here, we could see that the right heart, it kind of like, it's a little jagged on, you know, some of these slices in this bottom right pane. And that comes from things like this, little gaps right there. So yeah, I'm realizing it is 7:25, and this manual process is the longest part. So I don't know how much more I'm realistically going to do. But I guess once you get it to look however it is that you want, you know, I think it's best to do a final layer of smoothing, and then you can pretty much call it a day. You know what? Let's just, this is so ugly. I should have started here. I don't know what the heck that is. Like, get out of there. Is that this? You know, let me try to see. I'm getting so distracted. Sorry. No, that would be that. Yeah.
You're
what
getting
the
into
heck?
the flow state.
Huh?
You're getting into the flow state.
The flow state. Wait, was that?
Oh, like you're just full focused on the
Oh,
part.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like I want to
totally.
correct it now. Yeah.
Totally, yeah, yeah. Okay, you're right though. I need to end this workshop. Okay, so all right. So really, you'll just run a few more smoothing filters if you want or need to, and then that'll be it. So I might skip the final smoothing step only because we haven't really done a lot of the manual editing steps. So they're still pretty smooth. You know, there's not much more. I mean, maybe if we wanted to, you know, make this a little, that's gonna be way too much. I make this a little crazier. We can go ahead and do that. But really what we want now is to export this, right? What is that? But anyway, all right. So so let's say you're happy with your final product and you're like, all right, this heart is everything I could have asked for. How do you get it into an STL or an OBJ? How do you get it, the different OBJ files or STL files? How do you get it into one file? It's really simple. Slicer makes everything really easy. There's this little drop-down arrow next to segmentations. You just click export to files. And something important, you're going to want to check this visible segments only. Otherwise, it may include this other thing, and then you're just going to get a huge block and you're going to be like, man, this blows. So export to files, keep visible segments on. You're just going to choose your file. I mean, like, this is as simple as just like saving a file, right? The only thing I would say is, you know, maybe, you know, important to note is, you know, whether you want STL or OBJ and whether you want to merge into a single file or not. I would say always keep this size scale at 1, unless for some reason, maybe always is a little harsh, unless you want something that is like bigger or smaller, then you can adjust the scale. But I would recommend just keeping it the actual size of a human heart. And then coordinate system, I don't even know what the heck LPS is, but okay, so I'm going to show you both. But first, I may need to delete the ones that are on my computer now. So I'm just going to delete those. That way I don't get them confused, you know. Okay, and I'm a bum, so I'm saving everything to my desktop, but like, you know, like create folders, it's good for you. Okay, so we're going to export that, and then we have this segmentation.stl. That is our, boom, that is our heart in one big file, right? And then we can do the same thing. We just go right here, export to files, merge into one file off, export, and now we have, you know, all these other different parts. Kind of looks like chicken. And yeah, so that's really it. Like, you know, once you have that, you can do with them what you need to. And yeah, all right, I think that's really it. It's 7:30. Did anyone have any questions before I wrap this up?
I had a quick question. Is that 3D viewer or the segmenter viewer like another thing you downloaded? Is it like already in your computer?
Oh, like how I'm viewing like the
Yeah.
yeah, On Windows, I think it's just the Windows 3D object viewer. If you want something else to view it, there are a bunch of options you can find online. I actually this might be a little dumb, but I love the way that Microsoft shows their 3D printed files. Like if you upload an STL to SharePoint and then you view it from within SharePoint, it comes like all like shiny and like, so you know, it really is just your preference of how you want to view it. But if you are on Windows, you should already have the 3D viewer. Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other questions before we call it a night?
I am pretty impressed that you managed to teach a class and build a heart.
Heck, you know what? Thank you, man.
Yeah. I was like 45 minutes in with you, and then my slicer crashed, and I was just so sad.
No. Yeah, I guess that's another thing. Save as you go, y'all. Save as you go.
I didn't because I'm not, you know.
Dang. Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, though. If that is all the questions that everyone has, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording.